Hey guys, hope you guys are having a great afternoon, great evening, great morning, wherever you are in the world. My name is Nate Pennington, founder of RunDreamAchieve.com. Today's video I want to talk about how to work on your 2-mile race strategy. I had one of my subscribers, young guy, freshman in high school. Shout out to Izzy, thanks for the question. He just wanted to make a video about how for him to get faster over the 2-mile distance. And I think some of the things that I'll be talking about in this video will help you regardless if you're in high school trying to run faster over the 3,200 meter event, or you're practicing focusing on a longer distance such as the 5K all the way up to the marathon distance, because a lot of these strategies that I teach on here on the channel and on RunDreamAchieve.com in my running courses and my training programs, I always revolve around the same philosophy, and that's really to whatever the goal pace you're trying to hit, you need to be able to train at a faster pace than you're trying to race at. That way you can make that race pace feel much easier and less demanding on you. If you're brand new to the channel, please subscribe, click on the bell icon so when I make a new video, YouTube will notify you of these new videos that I make. And give me a like, give me a comment if something I didn't cover in this video you need a little bit more specifics on. Feel free to leave me a comment below. Anytime somebody leaves a comment on any of my videos, I always go back and manually check and make sure that I'm answering, because it really means a lot to hear the feedback from you guys. So for a little bit of my background, I ran the 2-mile, the 3,200 meter, 1,600 meter, and the 800 meter at high school. Much like you said that you have run 11:15 this year as a freshman, which is outstanding. You're well on your way to doing really big things in the sport. So I just want to encourage you to just stay focused, really be patient with yourself. I guarantee you, by the time you're a senior, you will more than likely be very close, if not under 9 minutes. So just continue to focus on that. As a freshman, I was much like you, Izzy. I started off running the 2-mile, or the 3,200 meter. First time I ever ran it, I ran 11:30. So you're right there. I lowered it down to 11:09 as a freshman, and during my sophomore year, I was able to lower it down to 10:36. And junior year, I ran 9:46. My senior year, I ran 9:46 again. But I was able to improve my mile. The first time I ran the mile, I ran it in 5:30. As a freshman, got it down to 5:09. My sophomore year, I dropped it down to 4:38. Junior year, I ran 4:32, and my senior year in high school, I ran 4:25. So I understand where your question is on, what's a 2-mile race strategy that I can use that will really help me make some big gains. So I have 9 tips I want to share with you, Izzy, and for anybody else that's trying to get faster on the track or on the roads. These types of concepts and philosophies really are universal. It helps you whether you're a young track and field athlete or you are an advanced middle to long distance runner. The first and foremost tip is be patient. Success in this sport does not happen overnight. You have got to have a long-term mindset, but also make sure that you do make short-term goals and long-term goals. I mean, if maybe a short-term goal is to run 10 additional miles over a 7-day period, or to drop 5 pounds to get lighter, or to run the second mile of your 2-mile faster than you run your first mile. So you have to be patient. Izzy, you're a freshman in high school, so trust me when I say this, your best years of running are decades away. So keep your enjoyment of the sport. Don't lose enthusiasm when you're in training. Know that your teammates around you, surround yourself with your teammates and work with your teammates to get better on the track. If you have other athletes that are on your team that are faster than you, or say you're not a younger athlete, maybe you're an older athlete such as myself, you're training for the longer distances, surround yourself with athletes that are better than you. That is a very big tip that I used over the years to get me to a point where I was able to run over 26 miles at 5:19 mile pace. Basically that was my best 2-mile as a sophomore was 10:36, which is right around 2:19 marathon pace for the marathon. So the reason why I say that is not to impress you, but to impress upon you that right now, as a young athlete or even as an advanced athlete, you can always get better. If you have a long-term approach, if you're patient with yourself, if you continue to put in the work, you continue to have that drive and don't lose enthusiasm, in your preparation. If you continue to do this over months, many months and many years, you're going to produce some stunning performances if you continue to focus and you don't let up on yourself and you continue to do the right things. So I cannot stress that enough. Be patient with yourself. You're so young right now, Izzy. As a freshman in high school, you're probably around 15 or 16 years old. 15 probably. I got a nephew right now who's a junior in high school, so he, like you, is really fired up about distance running, and I kind of give him the same type of advice as I'm giving you, and to other athletes that are either young track and field athletes or older athletes that are focused on 5K to the marathon or even to the elite level. Next tip, do strides 2 to 3 times a week. And a lot of athletes, even high school athletes, they know all about strides. They know what they do, but some athletes don't always know the physiological changes. There's athletes that are around the world that maybe don't do them enough. You always want to continue to work on your speed. Strides will help you. They're short sprints, 50 meters to 100 meters in length. Doing those strides 2 to 3 times a week over a long period of time, you're literally spending miles at sprint speeds. So strides are great because they don't really build up any lactic acid. They're too short to really fatigue the athlete. So as long as you stay in that routine of doing strides 2 to 3 times a week on top of your weekly track workouts, your weekly long runs, maybe you do a shorter tempo run during the week, kind of alternate maybe tempo runs and track workouts. If you're doing those strides 2 to 3 times a week, you're really continuing to build on those physiological adaptations that you want. You want to recruit more fast twitch muscle fibers because you're a high school distance runner, so you're focusing more on the longer distances. So you have more slow twitch muscle fibers than fast twitch muscle fibers. So you want to focus on continuing to work on your speed, your leg turnover, running much faster than you're trying to run over the 2-mile distance. So, if you're trying to break 11 minutes, which you're real close to doing right now, Izzy, and this goes for anybody. I don't care if you're trying to break, a 3-hour marathon or you're trying to break 11 minutes for the 3,200 meter. The same 2-mile race strategy can be applied to the 5K, the 10K, the 15K, 25K marathon distance. For a sub 11 minute 3,200 meter, you need to run 5:30 per mile or 3 minutes and 25 seconds per kilometer. If you're focusing more on the 3K, if you're trying to break 10 minutes, you need to run 4:59 or 3:06 per K. And then if you're one of those few athletes that do break 9 minutes for the 2-mile 3,200 meter in high school, you need to average 4:29 per 0.5 per mile or 2:47 per K. So your whatever your goal pace is, whether it's to break 11 or break 9 minutes for the 2-mile, you have to spend some time, preferably one workout per week, doing your VO2 max. And I'll leave a link below this video along with some other resources that you can review that will help you in your quest to run faster over the 3,200 meter distance. And the 2-mile race strategy is, again, you want to train faster than goal race pace, but you also want to run those easy recovery miles. You want to spend a little bit of time running between 15 seconds to 20 seconds slower than goal race pace. That way your heart rate is around 85 to 88% of your maximum heart rate. You're not quite running at race pace. Your anaerobic threshold workouts, those tempo runs where, if you're trying to run very, very fast over 8 laps, you want to do tempo runs between 4 miles and 7 miles out to 8 miles in length. If you can do a 8-mile tempo run, running at your anaerobic threshold effort, you're going to be spending much longer periods of time at a higher heart rate, and that's going to improve your body's lactate tolerance. And that is absolutely key. If you want to run really well over the 2-mile distance on the track, you want to outsmart your competition. It's not just and this also goes, and this is another tip I'll go into, it's not just the physical training, it's not the physical preparation that goes into the 3,200 meter that creates success. It's the visualization, and that's another tip. You need to visualize success. You need to visualize yourself doing what you believe right now is impossible. because I can tell you this is one of the benchmarks of what it takes to be a great middle distance to long distance runner. You need to see what you want to do well in advance, even before you achieve it. When I was a 2:43 marathoner, my goal was to break 2 hours and 22 minutes. That's 5:25 per mile for 26 consecutive miles. So I had to visualize seeing myself running, getting across the finish line in 2 hours, 21 minutes, 59 seconds, even while I was still a 2:43 marathoner. I mean, that's a big chunk of time. So, and I visualized myself in high school too, when I was running just like you, running the 2 mile, the 3,200 meter, the 1,600 meter, and the 800 meter. I was always focused on what do I need to do to run faster than my competition. You know, if somebody's more talented than me, then I know I have to outsmart them, and I have to work much smarter than my competition that may not have to work as hard as me because they have more physiological talent, genetic talent than I have. So if you're somebody that is lacking talent, you can always make up for it with work ethic and persistence. If you're tenacious, if you have a long-term vision, if you are hungry, if you're nonstop, you're tenacious in your preparation, you can catch up to those athletes that have much more talent. It may take you longer, but you will eventually get to your goal. But again, it goes back to number one, being patient with yourself, staying persistent, and consistent with your training. So that's number two. The number three tip I want to share is to do your long runs over hillier terrain. This is something you may already be doing, Izzy, or regardless of who you are, doing your long runs not over just flat roads, but over hilly terrain, maybe every other week. Well, again, it's going to get your heart rate up higher. You're going to have to work harder, but again, training hard also has to be accompanied by training very easy. You need to make sure that and this is another tip, make sure that you are recovering from your hard training, whether it's on the track, you're doing grass drills, you're doing whether that's like repeat 800 meters on the grass or on the track, or you're doing intervals on the road. You always have to continue to focus on that recovery period. All the benefits of your hard work are going to come in that rest period. And that's one of the hardest things for middle distance runners, young athletes such as yourself, even to the elite level. We're always trying to push and to get faster and worrying about mile splits and kilometer splits. But it's having that same discipline to slow down and to back off when you know you should be, and running slower than maybe your teammates are running far too fast on their easy days and you need to back off. Maybe on a Monday, say you did a 5 to 6 mile repetitions, 1 mile repetitions on the track on a Monday, and you go out with your teammates on a Tuesday and they're running way too fast. You have to have the same self-discipline as you have on those hard days on your easy days. So make sure you are taking it easy when easy days are called upon. So if you want to be really the best you can be over the 3,200 meter distance all the way up to the marathon distance, make sure you're paying close attention to what you're doing on those recovery days. It's always best to err on the side of caution and go slower than to run faster, even if you're feeling great. Again, you want to make sure that you're getting the best return on your investment. And the only way to do that is by taking it easy after those really hard track sessions, road sessions, on the roads and on the track. So hope that's helpful. Next tip, spend 3 to 5 miles of your long run running at closer to around 85% of your maximum heart rate. As a young athlete, you don't necessarily need to be going out there doing 15 to 20 mile long runs, because you're focusing more on the 1,600 meter, 3,200 meter, 800 meter events as a high school athlete. As once you get to the collegiate level, we're focusing more on the 10K, the 5K, and the 1,500 meter is run in college as well. So that's when you get older, you can focus a little bit more on going longer over longer periods of time and faster. But as a high school athlete, 3 to 5 miles of that long run, maybe your long run is like 8 to 10 miles. So spend a greater percentage of your long run running at a faster pace. Holding your heart rate at around 160 beats per minute. As a young athlete, you may want to make closer to around 155, but holding that higher heart rate again will make your body run. You'll be preparing your body to run much more efficient. Your lactate tolerance and your capability of being able to clear lactic acid faster than it's building up will help you sustain that 3,200 meter race pace that you're trying to hold over the 8 lap distance. So The 3,200 meter event is an exciting event, no question about it. One thing, and the next tip I want to share with you, is pace yourself on that first mile. One of the biggest mistakes I made is I always ran the first mile too fast. I had numerous times where I'd hit the first mile anywhere from 4:42 to 4:44 and end up running like 9:52 or 9:48 or 9:49. I'd always slow down that second mile. It's very easy to want to take off and run too fast on that first mile. If you can negative split and run the second mile faster than the first mile, you're going to set yourself up for success. There's always the possibility of being able to run very fast on the first mile and run just as fast on the second mile, or slightly slower and run a huge PR. But again, it's always best to pace yourself, especially the first few laps of that 3,200 meter, rather than going out way too fast. I made the mistake so many times in the 1,600 meter, going out the first lap in 60 seconds to 61 seconds, because my goal in high school was to break 4 minutes for the mile, or the 4 minutes for the 1,600 meter. The mile is 1,609 meters, but I was always focused on breaking 4 minutes. Again, started off at 5:30, got down to 4:25. So with you, Izzy, as young as you are, just continue to put in the miles, stay focused on your preparation, continue to have fun, don't lose enthusiasm. Expect it to be tough. What you're trying to do, you're getting closer to 11 minutes. You're running times now that are very, very competitive, and that a lot of athletes, high school athletes, would love to have your personal best. Your personal best right now, 11:15, fantastic. You're well on your way to doing some huge things in the sport. So, I commend you and I appreciate the question. I commend you for what you're doing. So definitely spend a little bit more time during your long runs training at a higher heart rate, and make sure that you're not just running every single weekend easy. Run one weekend at a harder pace, sprinkled in with some easier miles, and then the next week run very, very easy, so you can recover from the hard training that you're doing. If you're not a high school athlete anymore, maybe you're in college, or maybe you're out of college and you're training more for the 5K or 10K, then again, the same principle applies to you. So as you're training for the 3,200 meter, just make sure that you plan out your training properly. You're not running too fast too early in the season. Follow your coach's advice. A lot of athletes continue to push hard and don't always want to listen to what their coaches say. So listen to your coach's advice. If you have a father or a mother who's your coach, listen, slow down. Listen to the athletes and the coaches around you that know what's best for you. Also study the athletes that have done what you want to do, because they will help you. I feel it's very important for me not to only talk about my successes in the sport, but also talk about the failures. Talk about the times where I dropped out of races, or I ran way slower and felt the frustration that you and every other athlete, whether you're a high school athlete or an elite athlete, have experienced. I started off running a 11:32 mile, got to a point where I broke 2:20 for the marathon. There are athletes that were much, much more talented than me, that did way more in the sport, that never broke a 2:20 marathon. So it's something I do take a lot of pride in, but I also know there were athletes around me and people that surrounded me that helped me get to a point where I was able to get to that point where I could run that fast. It was not just because I trained hard. It was because there were people around me that I listened to, that knew more than me, and that I studied. I read books, I listened to seminars, I surrounded myself around athletes and coaches that were better than me, that knew more than me, and that helped me get to a point where I could run that fast. Whether you are in high school still, or you're training trying to make, qualify for the Boston Marathon, or to break a 2:30 marathon, or break a 1:15 half marathon, regardless of what your goal is, surround yourself with people that have done what you wish to do, and study what they do. Study what made them successful. Run longer. This is very important. Running longer will make you stronger. It's going to build your endurance. Coupled with the VO2 max workouts, doing the track workouts, focus on doing long runs over hilly terrain. Vary up the paces of your long runs. Don't run every weekend. Run slow. But also, when you're running harder, like I said, make sure you're focusing on backing off on those easy days. You want to get as much return on your investment on your hard anaerobic workouts as you can. If you continue to push the body hard every single day or every other day, that rest is absolutely critical. Continue to focus on your nutrition, hydration. Do the little things. Do the little things. The little things will add up in the end. You know, study what your competition is not doing. Find out what the best athletes in your state as a high school athlete, what are they doing? Find out, you know, how are they racing? Are they going out slower? Or are they going out faster? Find out, you know, if you're trying to run like say 15 seconds or 20 seconds faster than you ever run before, find somebody that has run that time and try the best you can to not run their race, but to run close to them in the race, and then make your move in that last 800 meters of the 2 mile. You know, that's where I kind of really focused on, at least in the 3200 meter. I was always trying to really run that last 800 meters as hard as I could. We talked about visualizing success and setting PRs in your mind first. See that before it becomes a reality. I'm 100% proof that visualization works. I saw myself breaking 2 hours and 22 minutes, and as a 2:43 marathoner, got to a point where it was a few months later, I broke not only 2 hours and 22 minutes, but 2 hours and 20 minutes. You can always do much, much more than you physically think you're capable of doing. It's the problem. We set limits on ourselves, and I think that's a big issue with athletes. We set limits of what we think we're capable of when we're really capable of much, much more. So always remember, there's no test for the power of the mind. They can test us on our physiological capabilities. They can do the VO2 max test on the treadmill and test our body's capability of clearing lactic acid and how much lactic acid we build up at varying paces. But there's no test that can test the mind. So make sure you continue to visualize success. Spend some time, 5 to 10 minutes a day, every single day, every day. Stay consistent. Visualize yourself running that goal time, whether it's breaking 10 minutes for the 2 mile, or breaking 5 hours for the marathon, or breaking 2 hours for the half marathon. I have training programs and running courses on RunDreamAchieve.com that are specifically built for athletes such as yourself they're trying to run faster over specific race distances. I'll leave resources below this video that will help, that you can check out, and also a link here on the video itself that you can just type in your browser, and it'll take you directly to the courses that I have on the website. Those are the tips I want to share with you, Izzy, and anybody else with regards to where you're training for the 2 mile or you're training for the marathon. I hope these tips have been helpful for you. And again, if you're brand new to the channel, click subscribe, click on the bell icon so when I make new videos, you'll be notified. And I'll talk to you guys in the next video.